My name's Jens Gurr. I'm Professor of British and Anglophone Literature and Culture, but I mainly work in literary urban studies, so literary representations of cities, the role of text for cities. That's my connection to the city.
Hmm. Cool. So I think you will have a different perspective than other urban planners or architects or landscape architects on cities in Corona crisis. So what, from your perspective, from your professional and private perspective, what has changed most in your urban environment? Positive and negative things you observed.
Well, first of all, what I found remarkably positive is the way in which the vast majority of people were responsible, caring, thoughtful, helpful, considerate, forthcoming. I was really sort of pleasantly surprised with how positively most people responded to this crisis. So that I found really reassuring. Um, as an urbanist and person living in a city, I found it remarkable. Mm.
Any other thoughts on the urban change during Corona crisis?
Well, obviously, as someone who thinks that the city is an arena of social life, this was not a good time for cities in that sense. And I'm not just talking about the retail crisis. I'm also talking about the loss of public life and the lack of public interaction and the interaction in the city. That was obviously a great loss, and we'll see how that plays out in the long run.
Coming to the last question, what might we, as an urban planner, as an historian, what do you think might be a learning from COVID crisis in terms of urban design or urban life?
I'm curious to find what it does to the inner city, and the competing scripts are already emerging. One script seems to me to be the decline of the city with the retail crisis and the reduction of office space that comes from companies recognizing that maybe home office isn't so bad after all, that we can save on
Mm.
office space. That could mean the decline of the city, and that's what some people are saying is coming. I'm slightly more optimistic, and maybe this will mean conversion of office space to student accommodation, for instance, and might make inner city living more affordable to people who couldn't so far afford it. So it may also mean more diversity, more young people in the city. And I realize this sounds like a familiar sort of creative class recipe of bringing students and artists to the city, and I'm hoping it'll be more than that. But I'm
Mm.
slightly more optimistic. Though what it means for retail is another question, and that's certainly a problem. But I try to see two sides.
Yeah. So there might be positive impacts in terms of the mix in the city and affordable housing for lower or middle class income groups, and also maybe negative for retailers. We don't know yet.
Well, I think for retail, it's certainly going to be negative. But both what we're seeing already with the closing of chains and of individual shops, but also simply with more and more people buying online, and that's a trend I'm not seeing reversed, even when it's possible, to go back to the city.
So what does that mean? If retail declines and we have more online shopping, we need bigger streets, or what would be the impact then? What does it mean for the future?
I do think that retail, in that sense of it, there's going to be one major source of people going into the inner city. That I do see declining. I think that's going to be a massive problem for inner cities, and I'm not sure that warehouses and shops are going to be converted to a living space. I see that more for office space, with
Hmm.
companies realizing that they can realize savings. Let's say 20% more home office work would mean 20% reduction in office space, and that can relatively quickly, more quickly I think than shopping malls, be converted into residential space, student accommodation, for instance.
So last question. What would you like to see? So if you could make a wish for the next 5 or 10 years for urban space, what would be your biggest hope?
Oh, certainly a return of public life, a return of culture, a return of theater, music, clubs under conditions that are slightly less artificial than they obviously have to be now. But a concert hall that's one sixth occupied isn't the same experience of music, nor is a club or a restaurant that's thinly occupied. That's certainly a hope for more public life again and more
Yeah,
more culture.
yeah, definitely. More life, more culture, more life in the city center.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much. Hopefully your wish comes true. And hopefully we'll meet next time in person again at whatever City Makers network or meeting might bring us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I look forward to that. Take care. All the best.